Titties and beer, titties and beer, titties and beer. I thank God Almighty for titties and beer, big titties and beer. Hunting two-legged deer, elbow drop over here. If there's one thing Daddy likes, and that's titties and beer, big titties and beer.
Fitz.
Yeah. What's up? What's up, Batman?
It's we're doing the podcast right now.
Right now.
Right now. It's happening right now. We're dropping the elbow. We started recording a little while ago. The mics are live. They're on.
And they're listening to me talk about titties and beer.
Probably.
You think our fans like titties and beer?
Most of them do. I think one of them does for sure. I'm pretty sure anyway. I mean, I don't know. Our main demographic, I think, would enjoy.
So I did good. Like, is that
You did wonderful.
Are we gonna get 1 million views on this now?
Maybe if we actually had some titties and some beer to give out to our fans, but stray away from that.
Well, I'm thinking that I provided something. I think we should definitely move into this and see if we could work on getting our fans, if not titties, definitely beer.
We could start with beer. It's definitely a good start. And I enjoy the enthusiastic beginning to the Elbow Drop podcast.
Okay, fantastic. All right. So
shout out to Rodney Carrington. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, he provided me and all of us now songs that warm the soul.
Yeah, thanks for the source material on that one. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Elbow Drop podcast, brought to you by theelbowdrop.com, where we're dropping the elbow on all things sports and entertainment. I'm the Birdman. We're coming to you from the Bird's Nest. That lovely vocal rendition of Titties and Beer you just heard was sung by the bad boy of the podcast, Robbie Fitz.
Right here, doing what I do best, being bad.
And joining us also in the Bird's Nest is none other than the Don himself, Don Vito.
How's it going, guys? Thanks for hitting the play button on this podcast. We're happy to be bringing to you the second Elbow Drop podcast. And, well, we're going to keep it a little shorter this time for you guys. For the first podcast, we really wanted to get a few things out there in the open for you guys. So this time we're going to narrow down the topics a little bit and just keep it enjoyable and entertaining for you.
I mean, yeah, we've already nailed down titties and beer. We got that out of the way. I think everybody has one opinion or the other on that. So let's shamelessly plug ourselves real quick. Please check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Kickstarter. Kickstarter is the important one. If you haven't been there already, please check us out. If you have, I hope you liked what you saw, and thank you for visiting. And if you donated, thank you very much.
We appreciate it. So let's break it right into tonight, and let's go into what we're going to talk about.
We were talking about wrestling last time. We are the Elbow Drop podcast, so it's named after a professional wrestling hold, so I thought maybe we'd start with wrestling again tonight.
That sounds good to me.
WWE Hall of Fame's coming up. We didn't touch on that too much. We talked about the card of WrestleMania a little bit, didn't really talk about the Hall of Fame. So the biggest news of the Hall of Fame, the guy who's leading the class this year, Macho Man Randy Savage.
And what an honor it is to finally have the Macho Man gain his rightful place into the WWE Hall of Fame. I was a little worried at first. I was a little weary about it because I know that Randy Savage said before he passed that he wanted the Poffo family to go in as a group. But ultimately, wrestling is fan-driven, and the fans should ultimately get what they want. All due respect to Macho Man and his wishes, but I am truly very, very happy to see the Macho Man take his rightful place in the Hall of Fame.
Some would say the innovator of the elbow drop. What brought us to the dance? I mean, when you think about it, we are the elbow drop.
This group is the elbow drop, and it's when you think about the famous elbow drops, I don't think anybody can really argue that Randy is, if not number one, it's a tied for number one spot. I mean, I've always been a huge fan of Mick Foley's elbow drop.
Well, he had a hardcore spin to it.
Of course. I mean, that's what got him where he is. I mean, people said, you got to see this guy drop the elbow. But not to take away from Mr. Savage, we were talking about him. And his it's like an eagle in flight when you would see the Macho Man do his elbow drop. It reminds me of the movie Nacho Libre when he goes to the top rope at the very end and you actually hear the eagle and he starts to soar. That's what I see when I see Randy Savage up on that top rope.
So you think Nacho Libre, some people might think Mickey Rourke on the top rope at the end of the wrestler dropping the Ram Jam on his opponent, who was played by Ernest the Cat Miller. I don't know what his character's name was in the movie, but that's neither here nor there. Macho Man, very great addition to the Hall of Fame. Definitely at the forefront of the class, but there's a couple other guys going in as well this year. You got the Bushwhackers, which deserving definitely, but it seems a little odd, the placement. I feel like there's a few more tag teams that may or may not deserve to go in a little bit more.
I agree with you. I think the Bushwhackers got the nod over the others because of their historic value to the WWE, because they were around a lot longer than maybe some of the more deserving tag teams were. But it's always nice to see a tag team being inducted, because wrestling is kind of built on tag teams. I mean, when you think about some of the greatest matches throughout the history of professional wrestling, half of them are tag team matches.
This is true. A lot of tag team wrestling has built the world of wrestling's empire.
I mean, the Bushwhackers also, they were so entertaining to watch. Not even just their wrestling, but just their marching.
Yeah.
I mean, you could find hundreds of clips of fans doing that arm-flailing march, even every year when they do the Royal Rumble montage before, during, and after the Rumble. You always see that. You always, I forget which one got eliminated, and just does the march off. They show that clip every single year, and that's honestly how I even found out about the Bushwhackers. I started watching wrestling during the Attitude Era, and I remember that clip, and I thought it was so entertaining and so funny that I looked it up, and then that's how I found out who these guys were.
I will say this: they were my favorite tag team as a child. Oh, they very much entertained me, and I realized that later on in life that they really weren't very good. They didn't win all that much, and their matches weren't very scientific, but these guys did have the technical expertise to back up their in-ring careers.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. They definitely deserve a spot in the Hall of Fame. This year I don't see a problem with them, because when you have nostalgia on nostalgia, you have the Macho Man leading the class, and let's put the Bushwhackers in. Let's keep the nostalgia going and put it in the tag team slot, because there are tons of tag teams you could put. But I think you want to bring a little bit more to the table than just, here's a good tag team. No, here's a tag team you guys remember.
Yeah. As with everything else, I'll say, and it's a well-known thing, that politics do play a part in professional wrestling to a certain degree. And when it comes to the Hall of Fame, I know sometimes that they might have a few big names they want to induct, but they don't necessarily want to do them all at once, because they feel one might take away from the other. And I know they really wanted the Macho Man to be the big name this year. But there's plenty of other tag teams that, now because they've inducted the Bushwhackers, I know in my heart will have to go in someday, like the Dudleys and the Hardys, and so on and so forth.
Which will be great to see. But the Bushwhackers aren't the only people getting inducted into the Hall of Fame this year.
No, big news. Alundra Blaze. I found that very interesting.
Yes, very interesting.
That she's going. Is she going to drop the award in the trash on TNA? Hall of Fame ceremony or something?
I really do hope that they do some kind of tongue-in-cheek skit to allude to that.
I think they will. I think they'll make a comment about it. But that's what I kind of love about the WWE, is never say never. You burn a bridge like that, and then to be invited back and be placed in the Hall of Fame is...
Yeah, you got to give Vince a lot of credit. When it comes to doing the right thing, on the business end of the spectrum, not so much the creative, he definitely is still intact there.
I think a lot of stuff like that, though, comes from Triple H. I think Triple H has come into a lot of power over the last few years, and I think he's the one who ultimately makes the overture towards certain superstars. Like, I think he was responsible for Bruno Sammartino coming over.
Yes, he was.
And Ultimate Warrior coming over. So I think he might have led the charge on that forefront as well.
Speaking of Triple H, another inductee into the Hall of Fame this year was actually a feud opponent of Triple H's, Rikishi.
Oh, the big quiche. Yeah, he's going in. I'm pretty happy about that.
I am so happy about that. I started watching professional wrestling in 2002. And on the first episode of Monday Night Raw that I watched, I saw Rikishi wrestle. So he's one of the first guys that I ever laid eyes on in a professional wrestling ring. So to see somebody from my first Raw that I watched being inducted, it's pretty cool to me.
He's one of those guys that, as a kid, I only recognized him as Rikishi, and I had been watching wrestling for years. And as I got older, I didn't realize that he had played so many different guys over the years. He was in... the Head Shrinkers, and then he became Fatu, and then he became the Sultan, and then he finally became the Big Quiche. But I had no idea how storied his career really was, and where the family he came from. And now I realize that, he comes from a wrestling family that's almost unmatched nowadays in professional wrestling. And his sons, the Usos, have dominated the tag team wrestling scene. which
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. I mean, it's only appropriate. The Usos are at their peak right now, and no better way to keep that momentum going and bring up. Oh wait, that's right. They come from Rikishi. I mean, I loved Rikishi when he was with Scotty 2 Hotty and Grandmaster Sexay, because I remember how serious his character was when he was brought in, and then they threw a pair of sunglasses on him and he started dancing.
as a kid, it was very fun to see the big guy, the big strong scary guy, all of a sudden act on this goofy side that he had.
Absolutely, and he was a big scary guy. I mean, even when he was still doing the dancing and all that, you look at him, you're like, this is a massive bulk of man, and I don't think there was a finishing move more terrifying than the stink face.
Yeah, if your face wound up in his ass, you knew that as a performer you had made it.
Yep.
That was the measuring stick back in the Attitude Era. Was your face in Rikishi's ass? Even Vince McMahon's face was in Rikishi's ass,
Yes,
which
actually.
I got to give credit to Vince, because the story goes that he would never do anything that he would never ask his talent to do anything that he wouldn't do himself, and he really got his head shoved up there.
He got a good stink.
But this is also the man who formed his own Kiss My Ass club. So maybe the guy has an infatuation with asses. Maybe he didn't mind, spending some time in Rikishi's derriere.
I thought it was poetic justice more than anything.
It was, especially since I believe the Kiss My Ass club had already been established at that point.
It had, yes.
And The Rock just shoved his head all the way up there. But I feel like I'm dating myself a little bit, because that was like 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Good television nonetheless, and certainly deservedly a Hall of Famer just for that moment alone. But anyway, who else is going to the Hall of Fame this year?
And a mention of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Arnold.
And I mean, I don't think anybody's going to argue. He certainly has a spot in wrestling fame.
He's someone who's honestly and admittedly a fan, and he's a guy who always looked up to superstar Billy Graham for the amount of bodybuilding competitions that he won and all that. And it was always somebody who was very fascinated by the professional wrestling business. And let us not forget the terrible backhand he gave to Triple H on SmackDown.
We try to forget these things.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I was actually just watching that now that Snapchat does live streaming of events. They had Arnold's bodybuilding competition just on about a week ago, and you see him, and he's talking to the superstars of today in the bodybuilding world. People who most of the people in this competition are the same guys who were in Mr. Olympia, which Arnold was also there for. But this is now his competition and whatnot, and you just see him talking, and he's giving advice to guys who are arguably bigger than him now, because he's still the exact same guy he was. I mean, he had a quote from this year when he was saying how people is like, oh, you don't have time to train? You make time to train. So he is still on top as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't matter. He will always be Mr. Olympia in my eyes.
Yeah, and deserved Hall of Famer in the celebrity wing of the Hall of Fame, most definitely. If you're gonna pick a celebrity to go in that wing, Arnold Schwarzenegger is just as good as anybody.
I can wholeheartedly agree with you on that.
Yeah,
but there is one more person that we need to talk about, and it's a very special inductee this year into the Hall of Fame. As they announced on Raw, the WWE has decided to create a Ultimate Warrior Memorial.
Yes,
honoree.
the Warrior Award.
The Warrior Award.
Which I think, is a great thing.
It's fantastic, honestly, to honor somebody like the Ultimate Warrior who had so many issues with the WWE, and to finally overcome that, and then to have an award in his honor is great.
Yeah.
And the recipient of that award is Connor.
Yeah, Connor the Crusher.
Yes.
Whose videos and experiences with the WWE have been well documented, and they're very touching. And I just want to point out from a personal perspective, being a fan of professional wrestling and the WWE, I think the work they do with charity, is just one of the most amazing things any company could possibly do on the planet. Granting a wish for a child who's dying and you're their last wish is probably one of the most humbling experiences of a lifetime. And it's quite honestly, it's one of the reasons why I always wanted to be associated with professional wrestling. I mean, John Cena has granted more wishes than I think anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, he's up there.
They definitely do their fair share of making little kids' dreams come true.
They do.
It's a very nice thing, and I give them all the credit in the world for it.
It's one of the things they do right, and nobody can ever, ever say that they didn't do something good,
Well, there is one point I want to make, and I'm not going to go too far into it. It's just a personal opinion of mine. I think it's great what they're doing, and I really appreciate it, and I'm sure the family appreciates it, and I'm sure most of the WWE universe appreciates it as well. But I kind of think it's a little unfair to single out one terminally ill child to celebrate when the WWE helps so many of them. I just can't help but wonder what the ones that didn't get the award, that aren't being honored like that, are feeling. I mean, they're also terminal. I'm sure that John Cena came and granted their wish, but I think I would feel bad.
They can't honor everybody
Of
like
course you
that. It's really a matter of opinion, matter how you look at it. Try to look at it the good. I'm sure if they could, they would give all of those kids awards, but they can't, and they had to pick one to honor. And I guess Connor, he was just so charismatic and touching in a way that I think he just touched a lot of WWE superstars and changed the way they look at their own lives.
Well, at the end of the day, it is a good thing, and it's really nice to see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, the kid was very full of optimism. It came across on the television screen. Like we said, it's just something nice. Something for them to give back and to give a little bit of television time to something like that. I mean, and for them to call it the Warrior Award too,
Yeah, it's great.
I mean,
it makes a lot of sense.
One of the Ultimate Warrior's last wishes by actually turning what he suggested into an award is kind of cool and unique as well.
Props to you, WWE.
Yeah, speaking of WWE, talking about the Hall of Fame, nicey nice, all that, there's a big thing, and maybe we'll touch on it another time. It's a controversial issue right now in the world of professional wrestling. And there's one name, and that's Bill DeMott, a.k.a. Hugh Morris. Recently, it's come to light that his training methods are a bit barbaric, some would say, I guess. And a lot of
allegations against Bill DeMott.
A lot of former talents have come out of the closet, so to speak. I'm not using that phrase to offend anybody. I'm just saying that they've finally come out and spoken out against maybe some of his training methods that weren't particularly kosher.
Yeah, we're not going to delve too much into that because I think we can do a whole 30-minute podcast on it.
I was raised smart enough, thankfully, to know not to give all the facts or give your opinion on everything until you have both sides of the story. And quite frankly, I haven't heard Bill DeMott comment on it yet, and you really haven't heard too much from the WWE's side of things yet. And once I do, I'd like we'll be able to make a well-informed opinion.
Yeah. So once Bill DeMott actually responds to the story, you can be sure that the elbow drop's going to be on it.
And it's something that personally, I don't want to give too much of an opinion because I don't know the full story. But if it is true, I think it's something that does need to be. I mean, it has been dealt with. I don't know if it necessarily points any guilt in Bill DeMott's direction for the fact that he resigned as head trainer down there and that he's not even with the company anymore, I don't think. But we'll wait on this. The elbow drop will wait to drop the elbow on this until we hear the full story. I just thought it's so hot right now in the wrestling world. I just wanted to get it out there and get it mentioned.
I mean, absolutely. We have to wait, but I mean, I'm already kind of leaning towards siding with Bill DeMott before I even actually hear the whole story, because I know those guys go through hell, and he's known to put people through hell, but he gets results. So whatever he's been doing has been working, and so many people haven't complained about him that the select few, to me, I always see suspicion. That's all.
Yeah, you won't know, until you hear both sides. It could be sour grapes. It could be people afraid to speak out for fear of losing their jobs or never getting the opportunity of a lifetime again. Who's to say? But we'll wait, and hopefully, little bits of they're coming out more and more every day. But hopefully, little bits of the story keep coming out more and more. But that's another topic for another time. Segue off of wrestling for a second, which isn't really a segue. It's just kind of jumping into another topic. But hey, what the heck? Where the elbow drop, we drop the elbow on all forms of sports and entertainment. This is something that we're all very excited about. We're all huge comic book fans, all huge superhero fans. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is about to heat up again. We haven't had a movie in a few months, but now Marvel's 2, the Avengers: The Age of Ultron is coming out. I don't know if it's not Marvel 2. That didn't make any sense, but it's the Avengers 2: Age of Ultron, starring all of them plus James Spader as Ultron, which I know we here at the Elbow Drop are looking forward to.
Absolutely. The newest trailer reveals a few things, but the thing that most people are interested in is the Vision. We saw that eye-opening, the Vision. And to me, I think a lot of people, I know me, I was unaware that he was going to be in it at all. So that was obviously, I had a little wet spot in my pants after
There's
that.
a lot of speculation I've been reading in the fan community that the yellow stone in the middle of his head could in fact be one of the missing Infinity Gems. The Soul Gem is so it's called.
Okay, I forget which color is which one.
There's a fan theory on it that that might be a way that how Tony Stark gave Jarvis life and Ultron life, is that somehow he managed to come across this Infinity Stone. Just a theory, but something interesting to think about up until when the movie comes out.
I mean, that'd certainly be a good thing because, I mean, Marvel has been tying all the movies together pretty well. I loved Guardians of the Galaxy, so I'll take any excuse I can to say, oh, wait, this is going to tie into the Guardians and, the whole Infinity Gauntlet with Thanos thing. I mean, that to me, that's one of the best storylines ever. And I would also have a fanboy wet dream of the Illuminati storyline coming out.
That would be awesome.
But that also requires them to unite so many different storylines that I don't foresee them being able to do anytime soon. I mean, the new Fantastic Four movie, to me, I'm not overly excited, but it looks certainly better than what we had before. But that you gotta bring Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, into the picture before you can even consider doing an Illuminati movie. So I'm gonna be okay with that.
That's the most fun about these movies. That's the best part about them coming out, is all the speculation leading up to the movies. You get so many different people and so many different theories that make sense, and people spot things in trailers that you wouldn't think that were there, and they find hidden messages and all that, and it all makes for a very exciting experience up until the movie comes out. But what I'm most excited about for the movie and for the Marvel Universe is, up until now, it's almost been kind of an introductory phase for everybody. And now things are, I feel like, they're going to take a dark turn. With this Ultron character who's just very dark, and then you got Captain America 3, which is the Civil War, which really is going to cause a split. And then, later on down the line, you got the Infinity Wars. So things are turning dark very, very quick for all members of the Marvel Universe. But that little bright beacon of hope, Spider-Man.
I mean, yeah, Spider-Man, exactly.
We're getting Spider-Man.
We're getting Spider-Man, and that's something that we've been praying for, we've been hoping for, because all the Spider-Man, well, no, I shouldn't say all the Spider-Man movies. Most of the Spider-Man movies have been a disappointment.
We can spend a whole podcast on that.
You can write a novel about all the problems with them. But we're getting Spider-Man. Marvel will do Spider-Man correctly. I have complete faith. But what I like about this whole dark turn, and I'm glad you brought that up, is that dark movies sell. I mean, the whole Dark Knight trilogy sold. It was awesome. It was the best way.
And that works, but that works for Batman because he comes from a dark upbringing, His parents were killed when he was a little boy.
Mm-hmm. But even a lot of the movies weren't dark. I mean, Tim Burton's Batman movies, those were dark movies. But Val Kilmer and Batman Forever, certainly not George Clooney's Batman and Robin. That was not a dark movie at all. But dark comic book movies work. I'm a big fan of this turn. I like being upset when I watch movies. I like losing hope for a good portion of the movie. So that's always going to be something to look forward to. When you want that glimmer of hope that the trailer has been for Age of Ultron. I'm going back to old Avengers 2. You know, you see these movies, and you have this feeling of, oh, these are superheroes. They're gonna be fine. They're going to be fine. Whereas right now, we have no hope for the Avengers other than that soft little singing in the background of this music. I mean, you see Captain Shield all destroyed. You see Hulk and Iron Man going at it with the Hulk Buster armor. You see all kinds of fun stuff. Well, dark stuff, not fun stuff. Fun stuff for me because I'm a psychopath. But when you take a movie down this dark trail, not only does it make the movies cool, but it also makes them usually a better movie.
It gives it a point, because really that's when we relate to those superheroes, is when they are stripped down of everything and they are at their weakest and most vulnerable. And that's when you start to gather hope for them and hope to see that, okay, they'll turn it around and they'll win. But sometimes they do such a good job at making you think there's no way that they're going to win this one, and thankfully they pull it out every time. But I feel like in these upcoming movies, you're going to see a few characters maybe fall off the radar. I'm not saying they're going to die, but I don't know. Maybe somebody is going to... I think we're looking at sort of a brand new Avengers team when we get to the last Infinity War movie.
Okay, I could see that happen. I could definitely see that.
You're going to be looking at a mix of a lot of guys who weren't in the picture beforehand, because you got Ant-Man, and then you got Black Panther, and Spider-Man's coming in, Doctor Strange. So
very excited for Doctor Strange.
You have a whole other universe opening up within the Marvel universe.
But I like the fact that they're going to start branching out, because I've always thought of Marvel as a real type of comic book, even though obviously all kinds of stuff happens. But what I always thought that Marvel was more of a real world kind of thing, and DC was the real fantasy. I mean, you have tons of aliens, and even the main characters are aliens. It's not even like they're villains. Oh, aliens came from the sky and now we're fighting them. It's like, no. The person we're talking about is an alien. You got Martian Manhunter is an alien. Superman's an alien. I mean, in my opinion, Wonder Woman's an alien. Themyscira, that's not, So when you look at it, it's like, okay, this is fantasy. Marvel is... No, Peter Parker is getting abused in high school, and he's just trying to survive in this world, and then something amazing happens. Or X-Men, we just want to live in the real world, but there's politicians telling us that we can't live the way we need to. I find that Marvel is real.
It's grounded.
Exactly. Yeah. It's grounded. You can relate to it. It's gritty. It's... whereas DC has always been up in the sky. It's a bird. It's So
they both have their enticing stories, though. They both do what they do very well.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not done. I mean,
there's a niche for each, particular fan of comic books.
Absolutely. Not to change the topic,
but that's what we do.
But we have some breaking news right now at theelbowdrop.com. Our sources indicate that Goldust will not be in the Intercontinental Championship Battle Royale
ladder match at WrestleMania this year. Yeah. He's not going to be in that match. Just Stardust is. I think they dropped the whole Goldust Stardust storyline. I guess they felt it wasn't getting over. It might carry on after WrestleMania, but right now Stardust is in the match. At most, I could see maybe Goldust kind of costing him the match. But really, I think, it's kind of heartbreaking to not get that match that Goldust has been lobbying for years. And the fans have kind of wanted to see. But in my honest opinion, as a fan, I've always wanted it to be Goldust versus Cody Rhodes. I mean, Goldust, I thought that's where they were headed. I thought they were going to Goldust Stardust at Fastlane, Cody Goldust at Mania. But
that's where it should have headed, honestly. They had every opportunity to do so, going back months from this very point, and they didn't. So that's, just another example of WWE failing to live up to the expectations of their fans, which proves that somebody backstage is out of touch. But
yeah. But you know what? There's bad and there's better booking. Of course there is. And Stardust in this ladder match is going to do fine. He's, Cody Rhodes is very talented. Stardust, whatever the hell you want to call him.
And it looks like we're going to get Goldust in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal match.
So he's still, he still gets a spot on the card. I don't see him winning the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal match. I really don't know who's going to win it. I would have given it to any, like, Ryback, but Mark Henry's making his return this year. Cesaro's not in it, so there's no chance of him doing 2 in a row. But you got Big Show, who, by all accounts, should win every Battle Royal and every title ever, but never does. He's probably going to turn heel and face about 4 times in the match. You got Kane in there, and it would be really nice to see Kane actually walk away with something that meant something. Then you got The Miz, who, he's been tag team champion recently, but other than that, he's still finding his new gimmick. He's finding his way. He kind of has. And I would like to see Mizdow walk out with something, too. There's a lot of guys in that match who could use the win, and I'd like to see get the win in that match, but it's just nice because it's like 30 spots opened up on a main show. I mean, WrestleMania, the biggest show, the granddaddy of them all, biggest show of the year. But I'm not sure if the match is going to be on the pre-show. Either way, it's still a prestigious honor to just participate in that battle royal.
It is. I just want to examine briefly if we're think about if we're going to have a good guy or a bad guy or heel and face, however you want to talk about them, win the match, because Cesaro won it and he was the king of swing.
WWE botched Cesaro in the worst way, and I hate saying that they messed up with a talent. But they just, he was not booked the right way. He won that battle royal, and fans were cheering him, and they turned him heel, and then he went with Heyman. It just was a confusing time.
It didn't make a lot of sense for him to, well, I'm sorry, that's not true. It made perfect sense for him to be with Paul Heyman. However, he wasn't really with Paul Heyman.
Yeah, because Brock had come back at that. It didn't click.
Yeah, because,
it should have.
Cesaro, he no doubt very strong. He can do tons of stuff.
I think pound for pound, he's the strongest wrestler in the WWE right now.
I mean, we've all seen him lift people and swing them around. We've seen him do, I forget the name of his finisher, but that
neutralizer.
The neutralizer, thank you. Requires a great deal of strength.
He's Swiss.
Yes, that makes perfect sense. But I don't know, he was so good, and people were going crazy for him, and even though I really didn't want him to win, as soon as it was coming down, I was like, you know what, I'd be fine with him winning, and he won, and I was happy, it's fine. But now, I look at this, and I'm like, Kane and the Big Show are bad guys, they're heels, and I happen to be big fans of both.
WWE is probably going to do some silly little spot where Kane and Big Show get into a fight in the center of the ring when everybody else is down, or they're just staring at them, and they'll get into a fight.
But do you think they'd do that after they just did it at the Royal Rumble? I guess this is WWE we're talking about.
I don't know if I see the Authority continuing. I don't know how they're going to play the Sting Triple H match. If Sting wins, does it end? I don't know. I mean, they'll probably stick it out for a little bit longer, but yeah, eventually all regimes end, and then a new one comes in, and everybody hates them, and then a new one comes in after that. I mean, WWE's been playing the same story for the last 20 years. Egomaniacal, evil boss, and they want to run things the way they want to run things, despite what the fans want.
Yeah, I feel like we're seeing basically WrestleMania this year seems like Royal Rumble Part 2.
Yeah,
it doesn't really seem like anything has changed in the few months that have gone by, because if you have Mizdow and the Miz, which they should have broken up at the Rumble. I think almost everybody feels that way because we love Mizdow, and we kind of want to see him get his spotlight again, because I loved when he was coming out as Damien Sandow and saying "You're welcome" to everything.
I hope when he eliminates Miz from the Battle Royal, if that's how they go with it, I hope that it's not like just a throwaway of a moment. I hope they try to make a big deal out of it, and the fans really get behind it, because Mizdow's on fire, and as long as WWE capitalizes on it, that guy can go nowhere but up.
Now, you think this is a big assumption to make, but after you just talking about that, do you think that they might actually have Mizdow eliminate the Miz to win the match?
I would love it. As I said, there's a few scenarios I'd love to see play out. Mizdow doing it is one of them, but there's so many other guys in the match that could use the win. they could take that guy and catapult his career. I don't know if they'd give it to Mizdow right now because he's got the Mizdow thing going on. They might give it maybe Curtis Axel, who keeps complaining that he was never eliminated from the Rumble, and so they might give it to him maybe. I mean, Axelmania is running wild. That's what happened on Raw the other night.
I did see that. What would make me happy, actually, would be if Axel gets eliminated in this match, and then he starts throwing a temper tantrum that he was finally eliminated in the Royal Rumble, but he was not eliminated in the Battle Royale.
I mean, what you gonna do when Axelmania runs wild all over? But I should say, what are you gonna do when the elbow drops the elbow on you? Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to come to a close. We have to say goodbye, but it's been a pleasure. I hope you've had as much fun listening to us as we have had talking to each other and talking to you. I'm the Birdman, coming to you from the Bird's Nest. With
Don Vito. Thank you for stopping by, guys. Have a good night.
And Bad Boy.
Bad Boy Robbie Fitz will sing you a little ditty on the way out the door.
Oh, we're getting a ditty, are we? Well, before we get a ditty, I'd like to remind everybody to please check us out on all forms of social media, whether that be YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Kickstarter. Please come check us out there. And the official Elbow Drop website, which is currently up and running, and this is where it'll be posted. But we also have articles up there, and we'll be hoping to bring a few more to you soon. But please, if you're gonna take us out with a little ditty, take it away. The Bad Boy, ladies and gentlemen.
Titties and beer, titties and beer, titties and beer. I thank God Almighty for titties and beer, big titties and beer. Hunting two-legged deer, elbow drop over here. If there's one thing Daddy likes, and that's titties and beer. A little titties and beer, great big titties in my beer.
Good night, folks.